I'm outside as well. Whereas
Oh,
normally
okay.
I'd be in my garage in the car. Yeah.
Privacy,
Right. So
Well, I
how
want
things
to tell
been
you
for
how.
you? Yeah, go on.
I want to tell you, yeah, that's good. And those stories that you write are the most helpful. I mean, and honest to God, 60 years ago I read Siddhartha, and then ever since then, it's been off. And those stories that you write are the most helpful things I've ever read. Now, I don't know if it's because, I'm sort of at a level where, I mean, I've read enough that things are making more sense, but to me, they're just the best. They're just
Yeah,
so
yeah.
they're just so direct and clean, and that personal experience. And I just want to thank you for them. I can tell you that they have helped me enormously.
Good to hear. Good to hear. Yeah, it was a pure accident that I stumbled on them, and I suddenly realised that the power of narrative in a story form is amazing. Yeah, it allows
Yeah.
things to get in past defences. There are no instructions, so to speak. So consequently, we can be relaxed when we read it, or I don't know what it is, how it works. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, and relate to it rather than being told so much of do this and do that, or it's like
Mm.
this or it's like that, and everybody trying to explain what it's like, and your stories to me are just great. And I I
Uh,
I may have a very narcissistic perspective when reading them because almost every story, it's like, oh, he was thinking of me there.
Well, I do get the inspiration from them from the meetings. You know, I kind of think about what the main theme was, or what the thing that stuck with me most was, and generally write about that. So they're probably getting a little bit repetitive as well. But yeah, no, that's good. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Well, nobody else is really talking, so I've got something I would like to clarify,
Yeah, for sure. Go.
uh, and it relates to a discussion that I was in on a couple weeks ago, I guess, and about the reality of things, and you've mentioned it in a story about, and I think I listened to some of maybe it was the last online group session like this, and somebody was saying, I don't remember what they were saying. I see a tree. And you said, well, what you actually see in direct experience is colors and shape. Um, and that relates to something that you and perhaps Paul or somebody else was saying to me in a previous session about, uh, the cat, well, the cat could, you were saying something like, well, the cat could have been outside and inside, or how do you know the cat wasn't actually how do you know you were actually dreaming and the cat wasn't real or something like that, right? And I thought about it a fair amount. I've never been able to make sense of that, of the utility of saying that. Sure, I mean, we can't prove the non-existence of something, so I can't prove that there's not an invisible purple dinosaur in my room. But what is the utility of considering things that, well, I guess at least to me, uh,
Mm.
uh, well, sure, that's possible, but I guess
Yeah,
my question is what I didn't get the point of that.
yeah, yeah. I hear you. I don't know what you're referring to, but it doesn't matter. The utility of any of that kind of stuff, or all of that kind of stuff, as I see it, comes back to a really basic principle. Well, principle's maybe not quite the right word, but it could be called a principle. That there's a difference between what is actual, which is only your experience, nothing
That's
else,
true, right?
and what is conceptual. And the issue is that we're brought up to believe a whole lot of conceptual stuff is actual. So we're brainwashed into considering things like responsibility and choice and all of
Right,
those kind of things that
right.
they're actual when they're in
Blame
fact
and shame, yeah.
they're
Uh-huh.
just conceptual stuff. Yes.
Yep,
So
uh-huh.
once we can grok the difference between what is actual and what is conceptual, all of a sudden we can start to consider and recondition or decondition a whole lot of those things that affect our lives in a significant way that don't need to. They're just concepts. So it's like,
It did cross my mind that that's what that was about. But I guess for me it was pretty oblique. It seemed like a pretty if that was
yeah,
it's what it crossed my mind that if that's what that was about, it seemed pretty oblique to me. But it may be extremely helpful for other people. So yeah.
yeah. So
Thank
this
you.
is a bit of a trick too. It depends very much on where people are and how they see things. So if it comes, there's another one that comes into it here, and that is, how can you imagine something you've never experienced? Well, you can't. Even your
Because
fantasies are going to relate to your experiences.
right, the fantasy is an experience. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. If I understand you, what you're saying, that I mean, the fantasy is an experience, and that's the only experience you have is something that you're imagining.
Yeah. So there's a bit of a trick too, and that's a good one as well. There are two, for the sake of this purpose, there are two aspects to a thought. One is the thought itself, the thought that exists, you definitely
Mm-hmm.
experience and relate to,
Mm-hmm.
react to, respond to. There is the fact that you're having a thought, and then there is the content of the thought. Now, the tricky
Right.
part is that the content is the carrier. So without the content, there is no thought. But you respond to, you can experience the fact that you have a thought, but you
Uh-huh.
can't experience the content of a thought. You'll react to the content of the thought as
Right.
if it were actual, when in fact it's not. It's
Right.
empty concept.
And you'll
And if
react to it in different ways depending upon the context.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So this is really a big part of this is our whole life. We react as we have stories. We wake up in the morning and we have stories. We respond to those stories, and then we respond to the response that we had to those stories, and
Exactly.
on it
Yeah.
goes all day, every day. Yeah.
I could tell you about a funny one that, I mean, it's sort of funny now that has happened to me. That there's been this is just an insight realization that happened in the last couple of days that there have been a lot of times where there has been a thought or an impulse to do something or anything like that. And then there has been this questioning, so something like, I don't know, I'm not sure how to describe it right now, but something like, well, is that what I would do if I was awake? or
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
or is this going to help with awakening? Or is this going to get in the mid? Is this going to interfere with the process of seeing things more clearly?
I like that. That's a good one. What the difference between people who are not awake and people who are awake, which is again is a stupid story, is that
Yeah,
those who are awake have a different perspective than those who are not. And that changes the experience of that person, that perspective. It's just looking at it from a couple of degrees one way away from what was normal.
yeah. You seem to. I certainly don't want to hog you. I hope
You're right.
nobody else is.
You just don't
Um,
worry about that.
okay.
Just go. Yeah.
Um,
That's part of the conditioning, isn't it? We've got to be polite. We've got to make sure we don't take too much time. Whatever. It's just conditioning.
but that doesn't. That seems civilized.
It has a place, yeah, but let's not overdo it.
Okay. I'm over it.
Yeah,
You speak, or at least my interpretation of some things you say are that one, you could call somebody awake, uh, even though they're these old, even though they sometimes get lost in these old responses, and
absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
it's me. And so it seems like you are describing or speaking of what, and this is my experience, or at least this seems to be my experience, that there are times when I can say I'm more awake than other times, and well,
Yeah.
I guess that's all
Well,
I got
good.
to say.
That's good. Yeah. So the whole idea is I would say I'm awake, but as soon as I say that, I go, well, that's a load of bullshit. There's no such thing as awake, right? What is awake? It's a ridiculous concept, but it's real from the perspective of not awake, being not awake, being a seeker. There is something we're looking for.
Right.
When you get that something and looking back at it, it's empty. It's there's there's nothing, you know. There's no
Empty.
specialness. There's no seriousness. There's no specialness. There's no thing. There's no state. There's no what is there? What's different?
It's
You know,
clear. I
there's
think
not
that's
much.
what's different to me. It's clear.
What what's clear is the bullshit that
Yes.
that is a lot of stories that we
Yeah.
react to like they're real.
Yes. Yes. To see the emptiness of them, to see them as subtitles to a movie that's not playing or something.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, so the movie is playing for a lot of people for sure. Yeah. Yeah. So is it so you would you it appears to me that you have a story running that says I'm either not awake or I am awake. It's a binary thing. It's yes or no. Well, what I say is people have moments of being awake every day, and frequently they don't even remember them. And they don't remember them because they're pretty direct experiences. There is no narrative attached to them, there's no story. And so, consequently, nothing gets put into memory.
Wow. Nice. I like that. I
Yeah.
appreciate that. Yeah.
So, do I have moments of meanness? Yeah, of course I do. Do I believe them? Well, when I'm lost in them, I do. But it usually doesn't take very long, sometimes seconds, occasionally longer, before I realise what's happened. I've got triggered into something that's there. Now, once upon a time, I would have said, well, therefore, I've got to go and work on this and fix it. Now I go, so what? Huh? It's just there. It's just I'm just triggered. I'm human like everybody else. You know, back when I was a seeker and I was going to wake up, I was going to be able to walk on water and win the lottery. Well, neither of those things turned out to be true. So there you go. Yeah.
I think
We
hi,
do. Yes.
uh-huh.
Go,
Sorry.
Kelly. No, don't be
Sorry. Hi,
sorry.
hi, Pablo. Hi, everybody. So you're
Hi.
talking about the difference. It sounds like the difference is identification. Because
Absolutely. Yes.
yeah, because everyone is absolutely aware, but they can be aware knowingly or unknowingly, identified or not with the character in the story,
Yes.
trapped in the bubble or open, wide, aware, knowing there is no limit. Is it about
Yeah.
that? Remembering
Yes.
that?
Well, more than remembering it, what it turns out to, as I see it, is that this thing we call identification isn't just a story. It is a story that points to an experience, right? So when we say this is mine, it's not just the words, it's not just the narrative, it's not just the story, but there is a feeling of ownership. And that is the connection to it. And that is what I call identification, that feeling of ownership. And that's the response to the concept, not the actual thing. We've been told, we've been conditioned, we've been brought up all our life to believe that certain things belong to us. This body is mine. These actions are mine. And that is a binding thing. That is sticky. That is hooks. That is whatever you want to call it. That is a connection to your relationship with a story. And when you've got that mine, that belief, and then the belief again is just a description of a particular kind of thought. A belief is a thought, and it's not the end of it, but what I say is it's a story that has other stories hanging off it, and the other stories are about the relationship. Firstly, there's a story that says it's true, and then there's another story that says it belongs to me. So that's what beliefs are about. And that relating to a belief as if it were actual, that's where all the suffering is. And when that happens, it's not about not happening, it's about recognizing it. The moment you recognize it, it falls apart. When you see it.
Interesting that most that dressing up the character, getting into the bubble of the character, usually takes place in childhood.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, and I don't know if you're saying that that's taught or that's just part of the whole experience. I don't know. When
Well,
when that exactly happens. Yeah, I can relate to the story of this character here. The big traumas happened when I was a baby. I have no recollection, but the body remembers. The triggering, the reactions are all respond to something that it's not even in the mind recollecting. So
yep.
I was trying to, okay, so when did I become this little person? And because as a baby, as a child, we were, of course, aware of everything, limitless. And at a certain point, we became identified with this little person. So let me listen to you guys. What do you think?
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. My beliefs have changed even recently about this. And one of those things is that the way you describe that, when you say the body remembers it, consider this. When you remember something, you're not recalling a little movie. You're not recalling sensory experiences. You recreate them. So when you remember something, it pulls a little bit from this part of the brain, a little bit from that part of the brain, and it puts it back together, and then you call it a memory. You say, that's what it was. Well, every memory is a creation, and every memory is a variation on the original, right? So if you look at it from that perspective, and that's an actual fact as far as science is concerned, or
That's a
neuroscience.
great description of it. That's a great description.
Yep. So when you consider that, when you say the body remembers, it's not there contained in the body as an actual experience. What it is it's a potential. in the body. And when it gets activated by being reminded by certain conditions that turn up, then it gets recreated and then it comes into existence. And that existence is in the form of a response to our version of the original thing. But it doesn't exist at all until it gets triggered. And that's when all of the bits and pieces get pulled together and we recreate the trauma or the fear or the response to whatever that original situation was. And it's because it exists as potential and it's frequently not there that it doesn't evolve. There was evolution to it, and that is that as we lived with it, we developed more sophisticated ways of avoiding it. And a lot of our responses are a way of not facing the fear that it provoked, or the shame, the guilt, whatever the emotion was that we find unpleasant. We just distract ourselves from it.
Right.
But can
until we can't. Yes, go on.
but can
Yeah.
it only go, because this is all above the belief of separation. If there is, it's kind of the belief in separation is prior, and it's not there in the uterus in the mother. Somehow a belief of separation comes up at a certain point, and everything else is on top of that, of something. Suddenly there's a character that is unwholesome. It's not whole anymore. It's a fragment, and it's
Yep.
never complete as and long, apparently, seemingly. And
Yep.
so, yeah, can you pull something out of that?
Yeah. Well, what jumps up for me here is that I have a story here that from a certain point in childhood, and I suspect that it's that point where when they did that experiment of putting a mark unknown on the child's forehead, and instead of him reaching to the mirror to touch the mark, he recognises that it's on here. That point, that moment when that happens, they call that the beginning of the awareness of a self. Right? I suspect from about that age, and probably it's obviously happening before too, but all this is just a story, that we've been collecting stories about ourselves. We've been collecting, I like ice cream, I don't like kale. I like to keep warm, I don't like being cold. My name is Vince. That is mum, that is dad, that is the dog, whatever. We collect stories about things. And when we're young and innocent and naive, and in fact all of our life, right, there's no difference between a story and what is real from the perspective of the brain.
I've got a good point about that. I think when I was a kid, a little child, I didn't like strawberry ice cream. I've had this story all my life that I don't like strawberry ice cream. And then in the last couple of years, for some reason, I tried strawberry ice cream and I loved it.
Yeah. And
But
so,
that was my story.
yeah, you responded to that story for a long, long time before
Exactly.
you.
Yeah.
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 So I say we've, depending on how old we are, we've got a few years behind us. We've collected thousands of stories about ourselves. And we've got this, let's imagine it as a book. We've got this book with all these chapters in it. And these are the chapters about what we look like. And these are the chapters about what we feel. And these are the chapters about ice cream. And these are the chapters about all these kind of things. Now, they're just stories, right? They're obviously stories from the perspective that we're looking at them now. And they don't in themselves add up to a self or even a sense of self, right? It's when we react to them, right? So there's no self in the story that Pablo doesn't like strawberry ice cream. But when he's faced with a choice of ice cream, he reacts to that story. And there's your sense of self, not an actual self, right? There's a belief in the
Right.
story that Pablo
Good, yeah.
doesn't. And so he resists eating that.
Yeah.
And so the sense of self, which is like a loop between our sensations and our stories, that closes that loop up. So the physical sensations confirm the story confirms, gives the physical sensations a meaning. And that closed loop is where the identity is.
I'd like to tell another little anecdote, and I believe it relates to this, and I'd love to hear what you say about it. So my hair turned basically white, I don't know, quite a few years ago. But I noticed that in the mirror, my hair still turned sort of blonde, looked kind of blonde, kind of brownish blonde. And yet in photographs, it always looked gray, silver, white. But in the mirror, it looked blonde. It wasn't a trick of the lighting either. I tested that. And so that was some sort of I don't know. I don't know. But I just wonder how many ways that affects us.
Absolutely, big time. Yep. So I use this story frequently to highlight that one, that we're walking along a path, right, and out of the corner of our eye we catch this massive green above the ground, and we go tree, right, and the brain then produces its version of a tree, and we relate to our image in our brain and don't even see the actual tree.
Right.
It's
Oh my God.
it's just there.
Yeah.
And this is what a lot of people are doing in their life. They're running through life relating to what the images that their brain produces and believing it's the actual thing. And there's nothing wrong with relating to that image. That's a good shortcut that the brain does. Saves a lot of energy doing that. But to believe it is actual, that's the problem. Sorry,
And when we,
Helletha.
sorry, so when we look closer, we see that we are naturally aware. And whatever we are aware of is made of the awareness that we are. And when we step back and notice and just open up, we actually always open up, but when we actually notice and step back, we see like almost the 3D play forming. But it's interesting that it's not a character watching. It's not an aware character watching a world in 3D. It's awareness, whole, undivided, limitless, taking all sort of shapes and forms, and how to reconcile that with normal functioning in the world.
Yeah. That produces a bit of a defensive reaction here when you talk about it like that. I resist the concept of awareness as a thing,
I
of
do
awareness
too.
being something that happens like that.
Yeah.
I get what you say, and I agree with you that there is always this aspect of actual seeing that's frequently missed. We choose to believe our picture of what's actually there, even though, so we did see something. We did see this thing we call a tree, but we immediately generated an image from history and from our previous experience about that tree. And that's what we relate to until we recognize we're doing that. See, and the thing is that the moment you recognize you're doing that and you start to see the actual tree, oh, wow, it becomes an awesome experience, right? The
Wow.
actual tree is beyond, it's so much more, oh, it's just so full and so complex and so interesting and so amazing compared to the the shriveled up version of the brain produced that we relate to. Now,
Wow.
we can't actually go through life with every experience like that. Otherwise, we're transfixed. We can't even move. We're just going, oh, wow. In order to go to the shop and buy milk, we've got to use that other one. We just got to recognize also, though, that it's not actual. So it is a case of, oh, I don't know how to put it. It feels like moving into that awareness that you're talking about, becoming, so I'd much prefer to see it as awareing, right, which is a verb that this organism does, rather than some mystical thing called awareness that exists separate from us. It's not separate from us. Without us, it doesn't exist. Yeah.
I would even question that. People talk about consciousness a lot, and then people like Sam Harris, I think he talks about thoughts happen in consciousness, right? And a lot of people talk about, things happen in consciousness. And yet the only way that to me, it's like saying experience happens in consciousness. Well, what is this consciousness thing? To me, it's just like, well, there's experiences, right? And that's all there is. There's no awareness or consciousness in which experiences happen. Just experiences happen. That's the way
Yeah.
it seems. But I know I'm sort of getting a little strident here, but I guess it's something that's been bugging me for a long time because it
Yeah,
seems
yeah.
like a lot of
Yeah.
introducing a lot of confusion into the conversation.
Yeah, and it's a big one that the non-duality stuff go on about too. Now, Paul would say and has said that that's an okay resting place. It's an okay place to get to if you believe that your consciousness or awareness, as a beginning thing, at least you've broken the connection to a self. But then we've got to get rid of awareness and consciousness as well. So it's only a staging post. It's only a transitional thing that you can use, right? Because so. Just come back to that tree. There's you and a dog and a cat and a frog and a cricket all looking at the tree, and every one of you has a different experience of what that tree is. So what's right? Who's right? Is anyone right? Right? We don't know what the absolute is. All we know is our experience of that tree. Well, what the absolute is probably does exist, although quantum physics might have different stories about that, but it's unknowable. All we can know is our own experience of that. And when you turn that around in the mirror, in this bubble of reality that we've got that's lined with mirrors, we don't know what we are either. We can only say, well, I am my experience.
I would agree with that 100%.
Then I give you sorry,
Sorry.
you
Pablo,
go.
aren't you aware of your experience?
I beg your pardon?
Pablo, aren't you aware of your experience?
Of my spirit?
Experience.
Experience.
Oh, experience. To me, awareness and experience are the same thing.
Okay. It's about
Well,
language.
I'd like to put it to you, it's this, that you're not aware of your experience. There is experiencing happening,
Okay.
right? And what you call awareness of it is a memory.
Oh.
When it's happening, all there is the experiencing. There is no body there to be aware of it, and there is nothing that you're aware of. There is just
Right.
awareing happening. There is just experiencing happening. And later on, you recall this thing as a memory, and you say, "Oh, I'm now aware of it," but it's finished.
Right. That
It's
reminds me
already.
of, yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
No,
go.
in dreams, there are experiences, right? Dreams are experiences now, whether we remember them or not, right? Unless you have, some lucid dreaming or something, and there's a knowledge that this is a dream thing. I don't even know where that fits in, but it seems somehow like it does.
Yeah, who knows? I suspect that there's still a lag if we to say so. Here's an exercise that I give people at Liberation Unleashed if I'm guiding there, and that is put a cup on the table and look at it. And if you really, really look at it, there exists, and these are just labels too, there exists colours and shapes and form and texture, right? So they're things that will point to what you're looking at. So you're looking at it really intensely. And let's say it's a white cup, and you're looking at it and you realise that from one side to the other side of the cup, it goes from a grey to a vivid white because of the lighting. Right? Then you realise that if you were to take any spot in that, it would be different to the spot a millimetre away. So in fact, there's thousands of shades of colours, yet we just call it white. But we can't really, and we can't really describe the complexity of the shading because it's just too infinitely subtle from a darker to a lighter side, right? So we're looking at the colour, and then we're looking at the shape, right? And we see it differently. We stop focusing on the colour and we start looking at the shape, and we can see the lines of the outside of it and the top and the bottom and the round and the curve and the hollowness of it where it's a container, and we stop doing that and we start looking at the details of the surface, and we see that it's not really flat at all. It's actually got texture. It's a bit ripply. It's a bit not smooth in places. There are these little pock marks and things like that in the surface of it. And when we're doing that, we're not noticing the form either. We're neither noticing the form or the colour. We're noticing the texture. So it's like we can only do one of these things at a time, right? And if we're so involved in that level of noticing of what's going on, and we say, who is looking at it? What will happen is that all of a sudden you'll start thinking about this person looking at it, and you'll stop noticing. You'll be in your head in a concept where this so-called person actually is as a concept in your mind. Right? So seeing happens while it's happening, and it's all encompassing. It's all there is. Not who is seeing, not what is being seen. There is this act of seeing that's going on. That's all there is. It's experiencing, if you like, and there's nothing else. There's no experiencer until you think about it. And when you think about it, the experiencing stops or changes, and we start experiencing our mind, this idea that there is a person.
But
And
when you say
that
that, I'm sorry.
I
But
was
when
going
you
to
say
say,
whatever you're experiencing, it's edgeless.
It's what?
Boundless, it's edgeless.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. It can't be. As soon as we try and describe it, we limit. It's not describable. Experiencing is it's like the surface of the cup when you're looking at it. It's too infinitely subtle to put words to accurately anyway. We have to withdraw to a simplistic level to be able to narrate about it and therefore communicate it. Right? But here's a really interesting follow-up to that. This thing that you're looking at, right, has no cupness. It's only the mind that says, this is a container for liquid to be drunk out of. That's where the cupness is, what the mind applies to it. There is no inherent cupness in the object, just as there is no inherent self in you. It's only applied by the mind.
Yeah, I like that. And if we notice, there is a gap, like there is this experiencing that you're calling, and the label comes later.
Yeah,
So the claiming this is little me is also later. It's like I like to play. It's a little clown that comes to the stage and bows and say, "That's all me. That's all me." But it comes later. Yeah. If you,
absolutely. Yes. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. That's huge. See, that's the crux of all of this waking up stuff. If we get that at a level that makes sense, then you're stretching that thread of reality and realizing that if it breaks, we've got concept on this hand and actual experience on this hand. And then this one is only about things. It's not the thing itself. But we react to it, and then that creates a thing itself. So here's another story for you that I think might be relevant here. At some point, I had this aha realization that what the Buddha was talking about when he talked about reincarnation wasn't something that happened at death and between lives, although it might be. That's another story I have no idea about. But what he was talking about, I came to the realization, was something that happens every single morning when you wake up.
Yes.
You
Yeah.
reincarnate. You put on the overcoat of 1,000 stories, 1,000,000 stories, and become a self.
To me, it happens over and over during the day.
Yes, absolutely. It takes refreshing every second of every moment for it to be
Yeah, and
actual.
I'm so glad you said that because reincarnation never made sense to me until that occurred. I couldn't understand why would Buddha say that?
I don't know
He's
what
so
he actually
smart.
meant, but yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's the only anyway. That's the only thing that makes sense to me. That's the only interpretation that makes
Yeah.
sense to me. Yeah.
But I find it funny, there are some things that triggers the contraction into the character, and there seems to be things that pulls away from the story and from the character into something else. I'm sure everyone here has experiences of those. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And that's what I was saying earlier. I think everybody has moments of what we would call awakeness all the time. And they don't make, it's not significant for them. It's just those little moments. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you think about it, if if I point to the fact that how marvelous is it that your feet know how to walk. You don't have to think about where to place your feet or how to place them. They just do it, don't they? They learned when you were really young and they got better at it, and then they just do it. That's magic. That's absolutely amazing that we don't have to think about breathing. We don't have to think about digesting our food. All this stuff just happens. Isn't that magical? It is. It is. It's awe-inspiring, I reckon. Until we think about it, it doesn't exist. As soon as we start thinking about it, we go, wow, isn't it brilliant? You know, I don't have to tell my liver what to do. In fact, I couldn't if I tried. So you've heard people say, no doubt, I have, with people say, well, everybody's already awake. Everybody's awake, you know. It's true. It's true. They just don't realize it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And realizing it is what we're talking about here. This whole thing of waking up is really realizing this stuff. But, you know, here's an interesting one. I had an experience when I was a kid. Bianca's heard this one before. And I used to read a lot. And so I'd read until really late every night. I'd probably read until 2 a.m. or so every night. So it was always a real drag to get out of bed to go to school. My mum would have to come and wake me up and yell at me to get out of bed every day. And so it was a real effort. Anyway, she came in this day and woke me up, and I dragged myself out of bed. You know, she probably yelled at me 3 times or 4 times before I actually got out of bed. But when I finally got out of bed and dressed myself and started heading out the room to go and get breakfast on my way to school, I got to the doorway and woke up. It was a dream, and it was so realistic that my response to that was, oh, Jesus, now I've got to do the whole thing all over again. it was amazing, you know, and that was one of those things that changed my life. You know, the realization that I could dream so realistically that I took it to be real, and when I woke up and realized it was a dream, it was like, wow, how do I know what I woke up to isn't also a dream? Because I only know I've been dreaming when I wake up. So I could wake up from that dream into another dream and take it to be real. This could be a dream. I could be asleep in bed in there just dreaming this. I don't know. Until I wake up. Then I would know. And waking up, what I call waking up, that happened for me, is like I moved into another dream, because there are a lot of dreamlike qualities in this reality. Yeah. So I don't know.
I don't know when we talk about the experience, I think there's a piece that is beyond what's apparently taking shape in the experience itself. That's always there. That can accessible to, it's just there, accessible to everybody, every character to notice. But I don't know if you take that into the view you're presenting. My first experience with that was, I live in Brazil, so I was walking in the streets in Copacabana, and I saw someone walking on the streets with the eyes overflowing with peace. That was the first synchronistic encounter for me. I had nothing to do with anything. It led me to do yoga, to be a monk and all that stuff. But that was the really start. It shocked me. How could someone feel that? And as a character, I wanted that somehow. And yeah, and it's the whole thing that it's right there. I had the character had an experience. I had a plane crash experience. So, and why the whole thing was crashing, I was just overtaken by peace while everyone was screaming in the airplane. So there is something always there that's beyond what we are calling here experiencing. I don't know if I understood you guys correctly. I don't know. What do you think?
Absolutely. The difficulty, of course, is in communicating that, or putting a narrative to it, creating a story around it to point to. Not that the story is it, but it points to. So my question for you was going to be, but you answered it before I asked it, was, have you experienced that you talk of?
Yeah.
And it's obvious that you have experienced that. Yet when you talk about that experience, it barely touches what the experience actually was.
Yeah.
It's just a lame attempt to relate to the reality of it, to the actual experience of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Talk about the marvelous tree, the marvelous everything. There is this, it's like a note of a song available together with everything that
yes,
fits. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. We can hear a chord on a guitar, and it'll just have an effect that's physical on us, and that's the kind of thing where there was no story in between. There was the sound and there was the experience, and then the story comes later, and the story's barely able to do anything to describe it. Yeah. And that's, I believe we all have that. Of course we all have that. And I feel sad for those who are so locked into storyland that they miss out on much of that. But it is like that. Yeah. So
Is that
people
a
who,
form of? Oh, I'm
yeah,
sorry. Go
go,
on.
no, you go
Uh,
on.
I was going to ask if is that a form of craving? So you hear a note, and it's this, beautiful experience, and then maybe there's the story about it. I mean, maybe that story is just, your left brain making up a story about it, or maybe it is uh, trying to re-experience the experience as sort of a form of craving, of wanting to have the experience again. I don't even know if that's really.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. Yeah. So, like, one of the things that came to mind as you were saying that was when I hear honky tonk piano, I just get goosebumps just when I said that. Then, when I hear it, it seems like the story that comes to mind is I just crave to be able to do it. I really want to be able to lose myself in bashing at those keys and producing the sound that honky tonk piano is. I just love it so much. But telling you about it gives you a little flavor of what I experience, but it's not even close to the actual experience. Now, is it a craving when I say, yes, I want to be able to do that? Sure, but that's not what I'm experiencing. What I'm experiencing is beyond words.
Right.
It's an amazing feeling of joy, of love, of something. I don't know what it is. It's impossible to actually make sense out of
Got it.
when I get
Yeah,
into those details.
yeah, yeah,
You
yeah.
know, or is it the sound that moves something in me? Does it resonate with this brain or these nerve endings? Or I
Yeah,
don't
right,
know.
right,
You
right.
know,
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
just
yeah.
whoa, it's just something. Yeah.
Isn't that isn't that uh, uh, so the story about it? So I hear a chord, and get this wonderful feeling or a horrible feeling, right? And
Mm.
uh, and then there's thoughts about it. Those thoughts are, like you say, aversion or craving or a void approach. Uh, those those are a form of selfing, aren't they? That those thoughts uh, imply a self that is, boy, this is not well thought out. A
Well,
self
but it's
that
good. Let me jump in. Yeah,
yeah.
that's good. It's a great opening. Let me jump in. What the thoughts themselves are just a story. It's the bit of the story that says me. I am relating to that. There is a person having a relationship, and it's the
I don't
relationship.
want that, or I want that.
Yes,
Right,
that's the
rather than
that.
just a feeling of wanting or a feeling of not wanting, just
Well,
that the
it
pure
is.
feeling that wanting and not wanting just reduced to, these simple little words. But
It is the feeling of wanting that is the connection to it. That is the identification.
isn't it just a feeling? It's just a feeling. Then when we put the word on it, wanting, then it implies I want, an I that wants. But isn't it
Yeah.
just really a feeling?
If it is just a feeling without a story, you might describe it as attraction or repulsion. But even if it's attraction, it is you would describe it as a good feeling. Right? There is no wanting to own it, wanting to
Right.
experience it. There is
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
just what there actually is.
Right.
And
And
so
then that
those are
feeling
the
might, yeah. And then that feeling might carry the story of I want that. Oh gosh,
yes.
maybe I'll do that. Or why didn't I do
Yeah.
that? Or whatever. But then
Or
that
even
thought
or even it
and
was
that
so good,
feeling,
let's do it again.
yeah. But that thought and the feeling can be, are more frequently seen as, just a thought and a feeling.
Mm,
Just a thought and a feeling happening.
yeah.
Without those words, it's just that's what it's seen as.
Mm. And depending on the story that turns up for it, it transmutes into something else.
Oh yeah. Yeah, a little associative synapses start firing.
Mm. So frequently, whatever thought turns up is a response to a previous thought.
Right. And often approach or avoidance about that thought. Yeah, and
Yeah,
then another one about that thought.
yeah. Well, you could say that we go through life all day, every day, with that approach and avoidance stuff active.
Yeah, that happens automatically. I think
Mm,
that gets classified into
yeah.
approach
And
avoidance.
whether you're awake or not, that's going to still go on.
Absolutely, yeah,
Right. So then we look
yeah.
at something a little bit. We look at something a little bit closer to is it going on for somebody, or is it just going on?
Exactly. Yeah. Or is it just something happening?
Mm.
The stories are happening here right now. I am talking to Vince, right?
Yeah, yeah. And now that's useful at a certain level. It's useful for something. But you can say that and at the same time realizing that there is just talking happening.
Mm. Yeah.
And what this is something that brings me to something here. The experience here that is really big is that not only is talking happening, but it's purely spontaneous talking. There's no planning about what's going to be said. Words just happening.
Here's the words that are happening for me right now. I'm wondering, so is this conversation between you and I helpful to the other people who appear to be here with their microphones turned off? Or is this just something that perhaps is sort of I don't know, an indulgence for me? Because I could talk about this all day long, you know.
Yeah.
Um, I'd love to
It's a,
hear from anybody else whether or not this is helpful for them. Anybody?
so how do we take the absence of somebody
I
responding?
can say so. I can say hi everyone. Just why I'm on calls and I don't talk maybe sometimes. But actually I always talk whenever I. But for me it's just exposure, like to expose myself to different type of to remind myself more strongly about not to buy into the story. What is this about? If I don't hear the teaching or whatever you want to call it regularly, then I can easily drift into, you know, personality. And this is just a reminder from time to time to, you know, go back to the source, to the truth, whatever you want to call it. That's
Mm.
why they're, for me, useful. I don't know for anyone else, but for me, it feels that way.
Yeah.
Because I did have experience. I was listening satsangs for 1 year, like religiously every day. And Muji was the guru. And that joined me to the awakening. It was short, but still, you know, it happened. I was listening and I didn't know, like, you know, you're imagining what can be, but what is going to be. And then when it happened, you know, it came spontaneously very. Yeah, that's why for me.
Yeah, good stuff. I have presumption. See, I have a story going, and it feels like the story is a good story. I'd almost tempted to say it's right, but it's a good story, and that is that whether it's people here who haven't got their cameras turned on, or the fact when I look at YouTube and I see that this meeting will get viewed 200 times by people. But not just this meeting, most meetings
Wow.
will get viewed that many times. And I think, well, presumably it's the same people who are looking at meeting after meeting after meeting. And I never see them. They don't turn up. They don't come here. You know, if I get 20 people here, it's a lot. And yet 200 people will watch the video. That's what YouTube tells me. So I presume that people are getting benefit from it, or they're getting good feelings from it, or something is happening that's causing it to happen again and again and again. I'll just jump over to YouTube. So the meeting that I put up last night has been viewed 65 times. The one before that was 123 times. The one before that was 205 times. The one before that was 165, 194, 215, 126, 250, and that's just going back for those few meetings. So there's been 3 meetings a week go up here now for a couple of years. There's, I don't know how many, there's 150 meetings or something up there on YouTube. And most of them have been viewed like those number of times. So I can only imagine that somebody's getting value out of it.
Wow, I hope so. Wow.
Yeah.
It might be
And a lot
nice
of,
if any of you
there you
seeing
go.
this on YouTube would leave comments or something about
Yeah.
what might
Well,
make it
usually,
more valuable for you.
yeah, they might get 1 or 2 comments, or 1 or 2 likes. Sometimes I'll get a dislike as well.
Mhm.
That's always a wonder what they disliked about it. But anyway, yeah, that happens. So it's like, yeah, we can't know. We simply can't know. We can just have our stories about it, and that's all there is to it. Yeah.
And it's happening anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. And if there's no body here running the show, what who would feel apologetic or concerned?
You said a couple times during this meeting, like uh, a couple of us said, I'm sorry, or we've apologized, and you sort of said, no, no need to apologize. So that'll be something probably my brain will be considering.
Hmm.
That that is that a is that a nicety that contributes to connection, or is it just a or is it just a
Yeah, I get your question. Yeah, absolutely. Now, so here's the thing. I still say thank you. I
uh-huh,
still say please.
uh-huh.
Now, sometimes it's a reflection of what I feel, and sometimes it's just a social nicety. But
I pointed out that for me there is a social convention of not being allowed to feel sorry. It's like if you really feel sorry, don't say it, just do something about it.
yeah,
So for me, it was I needed to be allowed to feel sorry, to say sorry.
yeah. So when you say sorry, if that is a reflection of something you feel, it's one thing. If it's just a social nicety, it's another thing. Now, both of those things can happen, and it's about being aware of it. So I recognise that if I really feel sorry, if I'm actually feeling apologetic about something, and I say it, it may be taken that I'm just offering a social nicety. That the other person may or
Right.
may not recognise that I'm actually feeling something that I call sorry, apologetic. But here's the thing, and this was a big turning point for me. It was listening to Pernilla say, blaming, shaming, explaining are mostly, frequently, and this is me paraphrasing it, a form of selfing. And so all of a sudden, as a result of hearing that, I decided that I wouldn't explain. And boy, doesn't that produce some interesting experiences. Not explaining
Wow.
myself, yeah? Oh, it's sometimes the compulsion to explain is so
Wow.
overwhelming, yeah.
It's
I
so
want you
interesting.
to, yeah.
Yeah.
But for me, not explaining was a part of selfing.
Yes.
It was like, I'm doing the right thing. Yeah.
Mhm.
I'm glad you said that about apologizing, Bianca. Um, and you said that about I'm gonna give my own interpretation, which may or may not be some degree of close. Uh, that if some sort of restoration is in order, some sort of adjustment is in order that one can learn from, and the apology is a note that, okay, yeah, that's uh, I don't want to do that again, that kind of thing, and that is acknowledged by the other person, and that would be more than a social nicety, wouldn't it? That would be a
Yes, it's also expressing sadness about something that happened.
right. Oh yeah, 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 absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
So, I mean, these are openings into a bottomless, a, a whole world underneath, and these are just openings into those worlds. You know? And those worlds are wordless. They're just the intensity of experience that is infinitely deep and infinitely unexplainable. If there's sadness that is just, I mean, the word doesn't touch it, right? So let's say there's sadness that says, oh, like I appreciate the. It's hard to put into words. I appreciate the pain of that action that you might have experienced, that kind of sadness, and you're aware of that. There is a feeling, that a sensation and a feeling and stories that go way beyond, you know, the sadness is going to be a pure sensation. But if they're part of this, that is the stories that say, well, it shouldn't have happened, and I promise that it won't happen again, etc., then it becomes grief. And then there is a whole different reaction to it. Yeah. Whereas the sadness in its pure form has no stories around it. It's like the body reacting to, well, it's going to be reacting to a story, isn't it? But it's
Hmm.
clean. There's a cleanness about the sadness that's not there about the grief. and expressing that can be anywhere in that range of things. But the portal that is into who or what is experiencing it is a great opportunity. So if it's pure sadness, then there's no who involved. There's no body feeling sad. There is just sadness. And that word doesn't touch it. It's a variation of things here. But there will be an organism experiencing exquisite pain, maybe including tears and certain facial expressions and bodily gestures, drooping of shoulders, etc. But there will be an exquisiteness about it that, who knows, maybe has something to do with the expression, the release or relief or whatever that's involved with it. I don't know, it just becomes, we could write a book about this and still not touch it, yeah? Or but we're talking about something that's finished. Whatever it is that we feel sad about is already done and dusted. So one would hope that the sadness isn't relating to or creating future events. The thing happened, awareness of consequences perhaps happened, and there was a reaction to that, and then it's finished.
I feel like you're making too much of a story of it.
Yes, well, I am. I know that. Yeah, it is a big story, yeah.
I'm sorry, Bianca, I didn't hear what you said.
I feel like Vince is making too much of a story of it. I don't know.
I am. I just wanted to, and I agree with you, Bianca, I was making too, but I just wanted to point to the incredible opportunity that experience might offer, to see where identification comes into it.
And Bianca, I believe you said, I had a feeling that Vince is making too big a deal of that. And so there's a difference there between the story and the feeling, right? No?
I don't know. It's just a way of expressing things, but I wouldn't read too much into it too.
And then I reacted to that story about to my story.
Oh, and because
All
Paul
right.
is here, I think. I don't know, is Paul here?
Which way?
His camera is, whether he's behind it or not. Yeah. Hello, Paul. Oh,
Maybe not in the moment.
he's off having breakfast or something. Yeah.
I had some thoughts about this putting a thought on the board, but I would like Paul to be here.
Mm.
Pablo, you've heard about putting a thought on the board, like a blackboard in school. You can't
Oh, I
hear me
think,
well.
Bianca, are you talking about when you put a thought as an object to the board and then you observe it and ask the questions? Are you talking about that?
Yeah,
So Paul did the exercise with me last time. So I know what you're talking about, but what is the question?
yeah. I asked Pablo if he knows about this, but he can't hear me very well. I can see. You're muted, Pablo.
Hi.
So Paul, I'll just paraphrase. What Paul says is that if you were to take a thought and write it up on a chalkboard or a blackboard, right, then that thought that's written there, can it think? Does it have any agency? Or is it just it's an object out there on the board? And that's a good way to look at thoughts. They're objects. They're not owned by, they don't express I-ness unless we believe that they're more than a mark on a blackboard. So to see them as objects on a board that have no power over any other thought or over anything or over you is a good way to look at thoughts.
That's where language comes in again. You know, we say, I think, or you think, or I thought,
Yeah.
and
Did I
viewing a
do
thought
a good
itself.
enough job there, Bianca? Did that explain it? Yeah. Is that how you saw it, Brenny?
Uh, yeah, exactly. It helped me a lot last time when we on a call because I was confused. I don't know if you can recall, like who is the thinker and why are thoughts so related to each other? And then the identification with the thinker is so strong. In a sense, there is someone who is thinking about life or things or you. It feels that there is someone,
Yeah.
that we all know there is no one. And then that contradiction, that there, why it feels so glued. I like, it feels compact.
That's a
And
huge, yeah, that's
how
a
one
huge,
Yeah.
thought can relate
that's a
to
huge
another. Like,
research issue in psychology now. How to help people see that thoughts are just brain activity and not something you are doing. It's called decentering. It's called in research. It's called oh god, what else is it? I can't think of the other words now, but yeah, that's a huge challenge to uh, uh, how to help people see that thoughts are just brain activity. There's a lot of talk now about the default mode network, which is the collection of synapses that fire and result in spontaneous thoughts.
because it feels
But
some
I'm not sure how how does it help? Mm,
The thought,
uh,
how it helps the experiment on the thought on the board. So how
Yeah,
it
how to
helps for
help you.
me, because
Go ahead.
for me helps the way when I put the thought on as an object, and a question that it helps me, is it thought aware of me? Can't thought think? If it's just an object that cannot, it's not part of you. It's like everything else that you observe in the field of consciousness. It's the same as a chair, as the laptop, like whatever. It is the same level of, but somehow, I don't know. This is
They seem to
Yeah.
have
why,
some authority, don't they? They seem to have some kind of authority, some kind of,
yeah.
deeper meaning or
you
something.
know, I thought about it when you and Vince uh, talked about reincarnation and what did Buddha mean, and how you react to Vince's story, but oh, it feels true, it feels right. The other story doesn't. I don't like it this much. This reaction is why one story feels more true and the other not. They are, if you put them on the board, they are just two stories. One not better than the other. But
Oh, I think one's better than the other. I think what what
yeah,
what
yeah,
what what we
but why?
believe
Why?
has a big effect. What we believe has a big effect. So if one believes that yes, there's something in me that will go on and come back as a grasshopper, oh my God, then what is that thing? And that's some kind of a self, right? It's hard to believe in reincarnation without believing in some sort of a self. That's my story.
Allegedly, uh, when I was little, I remembered my past life. So does my mother uh, tell. I don't remember that now. But I don't think it is necessarily a soul going. It's more like patterns. Just patterns continuing.
I
And
say,
with uh, with thoughts, um, yeah, I said lately I took a hobby modding computer games, and I started learning C# a bit, and I thought that it is like with this thought, you can take a line of programming and put it on the board, and it does nothing. It has no power. But when you put it in the program, there are protocols underneath that make it work and make it translate to hardware doing something. So I can take a thought and put it on the board, but when the thought is put in the system, then there are protocols running that transfer it,
Beautiful.
and I react emotionally, and something happens with my body. And with these protocols, I can do nothing.
But I would ask next question. What is that I that is reacting on a thought? So you have a
No,
thought that's
I
in, but who is
just
reacting on the thought? Like someone is recognizing the thought, and then there is a
Why?
reaction.
it's a
Why is there
program
somebody recognizing the
running.
thought?
A program is running.
And what is the program?
So there is a recognition of the thought, but that doesn't mean there's somebody recognizing.
So
Yeah, there is.
yeah, here's what comes up for me, and it came up a moment ago. When you what everything that Bianca said, absolutely brilliant, love it. It's all true, right? So even when the program is running and the protocols beneath it are, the interpreter that is taking those lines of code and turning it into an image, for example, using chips that are doing what chips do, and so on and so on. The whole hardware aspect of it. It doesn't have life per se. It doesn't have independence. It is just a much more complex arrangement of things that are happening, producing a different result. Right? So putting the thought onto the blackboard is just a way of recognizing that it inherently has no life of its own. Right? Now, the thing is that when we are lost in story, we are behaving as if, and probably you could say we are believing that we are responding to something that has independence and life. The content of the story, we give it life. We give it meaning. We apply a belief to it that is inappropriate.
Vince, when you say we do this, we apply, we give it a meaning. See, I think that's where language gets really confusing. I mean,
Yeah,
Yeah,
because there is
because
a
for
we just
object
say
and subject.
then a meaning arises, and whatever that is. I'm sorry, I got to get off, but gosh, I love doing this. Thank you all.
Thanks, Pablo.
Right, Pablo.
Yeah, so it's easy to get lost in trying to define or undefine, maybe more accurate, things like that. The the relationship to it is where the identification is. And when you're playing with a line of code and you're putting it into program and it's being run by an interpreter that you don't even know is there, it's in the background and so on. It's all just happening. And that's exactly the way it actually happens in you. So in other words, when we have a story, it's our brain that is the interpreter part of the hardware that's reacting with this line of code that we call a thought. But it's just happening.
yes, but
give it
you are talking as if there was someone watching the brain do it, and someone able to judge if it's appropriate or not appropriate. There is no one. It's just layers of program.
yeah. you can see that. If you're talking to me, I get that what you're saying, yes. But if you're talking to a seeker who still believes there's a self there, that's a different story, isn't it? They're not getting that it is just layers on layers on layers and just programming. So how do we get them, help them, whatever the intention is, to see that it's just programming? That's the trick.
Oh, but I think it was also a problem with our communication, because you came to me as if I was this seeker, not understanding anything, and I was thinking, what bullshit is he talking about?
So Vince, may I ask you, so after all these years, when you're relating for someone who is still a seeker, and since you know there is no one behind, even like in a seeker, there is no one. How you relate? How it is? What is the experience for you on day-to-day basis when you are surrounding with? Here is Paul. Okay, so you understand what I'm
Yeah,
asking?
yeah, I think so. If when you say if they're a seeker, so
No.
they're
So, for example, you're talking now with me, and I'm still a seeker, and
yes,
still believe that I have problems. That I'm still living in the world of personality,
mm,
and you transmuted that. Like it doesn't. You don't relate to anymore to that. So, how you relate to people that are not awakened? How like.
with stories.
Yeah, like when I'm addressing you, so you know that what what am I, how you see me, or not me
Mm,
like exactly, but like people who are still not
yeah,
awakened.
yeah, yeah. Of course, I have stories. I have assumptions, and those
Okay,
assumptions get shaped a bit by what I hear them tell me. Um, so I try to insert, and this is not a conscious thing. I'm just trying to describe from memory what might happen, and what I would try to do is insert a break point to say here's an opportunity or a portal or a way into looking at the mistaken belief that a concept is actual, a thought is real. That'd be a very broad and very general kind of intention.
And by the way, I am not awakened.
But you see certain things.
I have intellectual understanding.
Okay, so there's another one that, to follow on from Brandy's question, if I believe somebody has an intellectual understanding, but they tell me they don't have a visceral experience of that, that is that they still react as if the intellectual understanding has no impact on them, then I'll respond in one way. Whereas if I see them reacting in a different way, of course I'll react in a different way. That sounded rubbish, didn't it? It's too complex. Yeah.
yeah, it's too complex. But do you
Yeah.
still have a feeling of localization? In a sense, you are in body. Is it that still strong, or you are having
Well, see,
feeling
this
of
this
expansion?
yeah. So my reaction is that the question is wrong. The question is not related to reality. The reality is that I experience 1,000 different things in any one moment, or even over a period of a day. So I might go from experiencing to not experiencing that particular thing. So do I experience embodiment? Sure. Yeah, sure, absolutely. If I stub my toe or hit my finger with a hammer, I feel embodiment for sure. Do I feel embodiment when I'm sitting on the toilet having a shit? Yeah, of course I do. There are physical experiences that say this body. So that is an embodiment like that. Do I believe that there is an I doing that stuff? No. So there's a visceral experience when I even just talking about it now. When I say there is a certain feeling that evokes the story that these things just happen, and it's kind of a feeling of letting go, a feeling of release, and a lot more, way more complex than just that. But that's what comes to mind in terms of that feeling that this body just does things. Right? When I just said that, just does things, I'm remembering that word, just those words came out of my mouth, just does things. Did I think about that before I said it? No. Those words just appeared. Where did they appear from? I have no idea. Are they accurate? Kind of. If I examine them, I can start to question aspects of them. And so when I say just does things, I immediately have to look at those words and I go, just, does that mean only? Does things, does that mean I had control? Doing, right? No, it's just words to say, to communicate something at a simplistic level, and that's all that can happen. So do I experience embodiment? Yeah. Do I believe there's a me behind that? No. Do I behave sometimes like there is a me behind that? Yes. Do I become aware of that? Sometimes. When I become aware of it, do I still believe there's an I behind it? No. So it's just too complex to answer a question like that easily and straightforward.
Thank you. Thank you. No, I'm asking behind stories when it happened for me, I felt that I'm not localized, and that's why I'm for me awakening means losing localization. Like this is what is the threshold. Like, okay, if I don't have a sense of if I'm one with everything, that was for me huge shift. Like I felt that I'm one with everything around me, even with the people. Like I felt that we are. The first sentence that came to me when I saw a person, it was, "Oh my God, we are all one."
Mm.
That's why I'm asking, like, is this what I experienced? Is that real as an experience, or are you are you having something like that in your day-to-day life? That
No,
was,
I don't experience that on a regular basis, but I have experienced that.
yeah, okay,
Um,
that
yeah. And when that experience happened, and I'm telling a story again now because I can't actually remember the last time it happened where I was overwhelmed with the feeling that we're all one. But when that experience happened, it changed a fundamental thing. So now I don't need to reconfirm that one all the time. And it's a beautiful experience when it happens, but I don't chase it, and I don't think it's necessary, nor is it unnecessary. It's just something that happens occasionally. It's the same with any of these experiences of the emptiness or the fullness or whatever. You know, it's kind of a crazy thing, but it seems like a large part of every day is missing. It just isn't there. I'm just not aware of it. It's at the moment, if there's a feeling that time is going so fast that it's a bit giddying. I just feel like I'm getting old so quickly. Not that I'm getting old as in becoming decrepit, but my age, my physical age is that, wow, I'm approaching death at a great rate. And there's no problems with that. It's not like, am I going to leave behind a memory or an impact or anything like that? None of that exists. It's just that this feeling of every day, a large part of the day isn't remembered. I can't believe that it's today and not still yesterday. It was yesterday, a moment ago, a second ago, and now it's today. And it was last week, only 5 seconds ago, and it was last year, only 3 minutes ago. I just can't believe how fast this is all happening. When I say I can't believe it, I'm not saying I can't believe it. I'm just saying it's a bit astounding. I have a visceral reaction to that. And now I'm overwhelmed with this idea that I'm just talking gobbledygook and nobody has any idea what I'm saying.
No, I totally understand. I feel the same way, to be honest. But
Yeah.
is it not with connected also with the age? Like, you know how they say in psychology, when you closer to exit, the time is getting faster, like day to day. I think that's normal experience, human experience.
Hmm.
But I understand, like literally, it's
Um,
yeah. Last year was yesterday. How it, especially like,
um,
go ahead. Frank.
sorry. Ah, how can you hear me?
Yes, fine.
Paul, can I'll try. Am I better heard like that?
So you were fine. We could hear you okay. We could hear you and see you okay.
Paul, can you hear me?
Yes.
Vince, you are not Paul. Paul, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Go ahead.
Paul, I just wanted to say that before I was talking about thoughts, putting a thought on the board.
Okay.
I won't repeat it, but I would like you to watch YouTube later.
Do you want me to what?
Watch the YouTube later.
Okay. You mean this one? Of this meeting?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry. I had to leave. Something came up at a rent house that I had to go tend to. I'll watch it later. Did you have a question about it? I mean, I'm here now.
More like maybe next time we can come back to it if you'd
Okay.
like.
Okay, sure, sure.
And okay, now Vince,
Yes.
I've noticed that recently you talk a lot about death. Half a year ago, you didn't.
Right.
Is something happening?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm dying. Well, no, I'm not dying. Well, I am dying, but you know what I mean. No, I'm not meaning to say that there's something acute going on. No, I don't know how much longer. Yeah, I guess it's got to do with I'm coming up to my 78th birthday very soon, and I've had a couple of people in my life just this last week. One had a heart attack and one had a stroke, and they're both younger than me. So that kind of changes focus a little bit. But there is just this feeling that I had an experience in the last couple of days of considering my death. Whether, if I think about it now, it was probably stimulated by talking about these other people having a near-death experience and other people that have actually died. Anyway, it's just circumstances. So there's nothing morbid about it. I don't feel resistant to it or anything in a negative way. But yeah, why am I talking about it more than I used to? Probably just circumstances. I'm not meaning to brush it off like that. I just, I mean, I every day I face the fact that I could have a heart attack or a stroke and die tomorrow or today or in 5 minutes. I don't know. Whereas when you're young, you never think about that, do you? You think you're invulnerable when you're really young.
I remember that once I had a dream that I was dying. I laid on a bed, and my parents were near. And in this dream, I couldn't stop talking. I was talking and talking and talking. It was like I wanted to say everything just to get it out
Yeah,
before it's too late.
yeah.
But it was not even important stuff. It's just
Yeah. Well, it's not important in itself, but the expression was probably important.
Considering near death experience, it's a nice experience. Dying. I've watched them so many of those, like, and no one wants to come back.
Yeah. Yeah, that's an interesting thing to consider, isn't it?
But like, since I had this experience, I think, yeah, it is must be much better than, like, it's hard to use words here because this is like just a movie, but it felt like going home. That's the most used expression in near that experience. Like all of, not all of them, but like most of people said they felt like they are going home.
Hmm. Hmm.
So that means something like,
Yeah, so if you analyze it a little bit, you can think that maybe what home means is where you belong, or a place to rest, or who knows, what that might actually mean. What is home? But it has an implication of reconnection or something. Yeah.
but from my experience when this awakening, like it felt like near that experience, it felt like it's you are finally where you belong. Everything has sense. That's real you. The realness of, of experience, like it felt it felt more real in this world.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah.
Like that all what I seeing outside, like question, like it felt it not it's not that it was not real, but the state I was much closer to home. Like I don't know how to say.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah. I can imagine that people who are suffering would put on it ideas of being free of suffering, and that home and being relaxed and being uh, in that state has a great attraction for them. Now, it's really interesting from what I say. I've never thought of this one before, but it feels to me now when I think of death, and I'm only thinking of it, of course, it feels like it's no different to this. It makes no difference. It doesn't matter to me whether I'm alive or whether I'm dead. It's the same thing. I do recognise that when I say that, it sounds a bit weird, and I'm not
No,
even sure what it means myself.
but it sounds logical because you are just shedding the layer. You don't go anywhere.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just like, you have a filter of blue color and you just take the blue glasses, filter with blue, and that's it.
Mm,
There is no, it's, I guess that's the point. There is no space, there is no time. You're never born, you're never going to die. All these non-dual uh,
mm.
questions or confirmations, and that's it. I think I'm talking like I was dead. I came back. I wasn't, but it feels like that. Or maybe I don't know. Again, who
Yeah.
knows what it
And,
what is
and,
behind.
and it's this idea of it, and it is an idea of what is actual is just a total mystery. Like I have no idea what it is. Yet at the same time as I can say that that mystery of not knowing also feels familiar. And if that's what death is, it's just exactly the same as this. It's just a case of not knowing. And that's fine. There's no need to know. There's what's knowing? It's just a stupid story. Well, that was a lot of nothing, wasn't it? But
Mhm. It's just, I guess the ego is afraid to die. And then if there is no fear of the dying, then there is nothing, you just change, shed the
mm,
body. It's like,
yeah,
I guess when baby is born and she's in dark and she has own world, and then there is a tunnel, like I guess, I don't know, like that's similar. You're going to be born in some other world. Someone is pushing you out.
yeah.
And
We
now,
imagine that. Oh, yeah,
so
yeah.
I guess this is how we feel. Like maybe baby's scared because it's like, changing. She was swimming, living a nice life, and then somehow now it's someone is pushing it out, and you know, maybe it has a feeling of dying. We don't know. but I guess this is how I imagine. So now we are going again through some tunnel. Different. It's not physical, but
Yeah.
you know, it's unknown tunnel. And
Yeah.
then you imagine you're going beyond. You're transferring to something else.
Yeah. There's
Depends,
lots of. Mm.
depends, like if you're religious, like now there is so many stories
Oh,
connected to how we are transitioning. Are you going to hell, heaven? If you're atheist, you are going just to the ground. Like there is so many versions of die, how we are going to die. But
you know, in my dream, I was not afraid of dying at all. And yet I couldn't stop talking.
it was not your
And
time.
I I notice also that Vince, but also recently you often say that I talk too much.
Yeah.
So somehow it's connected in my mind with these two things. And I just wanted to say, I love you. I hear you. You can talk all the time, all you want.
Oh, that's so nice,
Oh,
Bianca.
yes. Thank you, Bianca. That's great. I feel that love. I do. It's beautiful. Thank you. Mm. And I want to say that I didn't, that I am, that I hope you feel my love. Yeah.
This is so amazing. Thank you, Bianca.
Mm. Okay. Well, I think that's a great note to wind up on.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Beautiful.